this year, no one got even close more than 60% of the vote to get into the Hall of Fame. And that's the 9th time in MLB history. So we'll mention that. Dixie Sports, we'll mention that. The rant, yep. All right, cool. All right, let me hit that button. Let's get this started.
Ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you?
It's time to flip a coin and find out.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
We're calling it to see who's got the best sports knowledge here on the Coin Flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
Flip it again.
Ha! Head!
Yes, the Coin Flip, baby, episode 21. What it do, Martin?
Okay. Look at who's taking over the intros part over there.
Got you.
Like it. I
got
like
you.
it. Obviously, the Coin Flip episode number 21. Hello, everyone. I'm Martin Kelly. That's my best friend and one of the awesome dudes in this world, Jacob Zimmerman, over there in the corner with me.
Right back at you, bro.
I appreciate that. It is a foggy, weird, cold morning in St. George,
I saw your story.
Utah. Did you see my story?
I saw your story and I opened up my blinds and it was completely different weather than what you had seen in your morning.
You know what? Different weather. I was on the other side of the bluff. It looked like I was in like an apocalyptic like movie. I was expecting someone to come out and like stab me or like eat my brains.
You're
like
crossing the Delaware, George Washington.
Seriously, man. Yeah. It was thick. I walked out this morning. As I'm walking out the door, I'm like, I looked down. I saw a car go by as I'm walking down the stairs. I'm like, is that fog? And I walk out. I'm like, holy crap! It is fog.
Even your phone, like, made it look really blurry. And we know when you take a picture of like the sun, the sky, whatever it is with your phone, it doesn't even do it justice. Your phone, man, you could barely see in front of you.
I could barely see the clubhouse. I could barely see, and obviously you and I know, like, we can see the mountains that are outside of our like house that are like stretch out the St. George area. I could barely see them. Like, I saw a glimpse of, like, I know where the mountain is at, and I saw a glimpse of it, and I was like, man, I can't even see the mountain. Anyway, creepy morning here in St. George, Utah. I actually liked it. It reminded me of home because it was cold, it was creepy, it was a little snowy.
Okay.
Reminded me of Chicago, a little bit of home. We do have to start this podcast on a sad note. First with John Chaney, a former Temple head basketball coach, died yesterday at the age of 89. 2020 and 2021 still is giving us more and more heartbreak. But also, Jacob, I've known you for nearly 2 years, and I know your phone and I know your home wall cover page as one of the greatest players of all time. I know that wall cover page. I've seen you open your phone and text on that phone a million times. I know that wall cover coverage. It is the late great Kobe Bryant, a year and 4 days after he died on January 26, 2020, with Gianna Bryant, along with two other families and the pilot on the helicopter crash that crashed in Cal Baptist, California. We talked a little bit about this last time on our podcast, but that was a Sunday morning. I remember the day we got the news. Yep. Where were you when you heard?
I was here in St. George. I was picking up my friend, Donnie. And so Donnie is a huge Kobe fan to the point where his gamer tag is literally think I'm Kobe 14. So I was picking him up and I got a notification as he's like walking out and I see that Kobe Bryant has died. And like, what? This couldn't be real, right? Because I feel like earlier that morning, like 15 minutes earlier, I had seen a post on Instagram in the Explore section. And when you see news in the Explore section of Instagram, you take it with a grain of salt. And so I might have seen one report and just brush it off as like, oh, another fake news outlet. But no, this was real, and his reaction was crazy. He couldn't believe it. I mean, I didn't really know what to say. I put my Kobe's on, and I watched the broadcast on television for a couple hours. I haven't sat down and watched TV other than like a game for that long of a stretch. But it was really sad. I made Kobe my background after that. I even ordered his book, and I got a poster with a quote of him on my wall. I was never a huge Kobe fan, but I had to pay my respects to the NBA legend. He did it for the culture, and I had to pay my respects.
I remember, and it's funny. It's like we ask our parents because you and I are not old enough to actually remember what happened on 9/11. Like, I was barely 5. And
yeah, I was like 2 maybe.
Right. Like, we don't remember anything. Like, our parents, like, legitimately from, like, the second it happened until the next morning, like 24 hours later, they remember every single hour of what happened on that day. And it's funny that it's like that's 9 days before my birthday. So I have to share the same month with that. So, it's kind of like
September 20th?
I'm September 20th, September 11th. So I gotta share that same month with that. But I remember where I was. I was at home. I was playing video games that morning. I was just playing Battlefield, having a good time. It was a Sunday morning, chilling out. And one of my friends texted me, and she read a TMZ report that Kobe Bryant died. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's a parody account. Like, I've seen, like, Gabriel Iglesias, one of my favorite comedians. Like, there was, like, 3 parody accounts 3 times in his life that said Gabriel Iglesias has died. And he's not dead. And, like, there's a running joke here. Like, one of his buddies, like, found one of those parody accounts. He's like, hey, he called up Gabriel Iglesias. He's like, hey, are you dead? He's like, no. I figured you would have told me if you were dead. So making a joke out of it, but I looked at it as a joke. And later that day, you and I came to the station because I had to help you with some homework. And we were talking about it in the car. And I was like, oh, crap. Kobe's dead. Kobe Bryant died this morning. And the messed up part is, and being that you're a LeBron James fan, the night before, LeBron James passed Kobe on the 3rd all-time scoring list. And Kobe sent out a text later that night congratulating LeBron James the night before he died with his daughter.
That's what gets forgotten, and even I had forgotten that.
Like, I distinctly remember that the day before LeBron James passed Kobe Bryant for 3rd time on the all-time scoring list.
The real scary thing is that there was a skit. I don't know what it was on, but it was a skit. It was a cartoon skit, and they basically had Kobe dying in a helicopter crash about a few years earlier than this incident actually took place. It was something like he had his trophies in the helicopter with him, and he was like, Kobe, pass me one of those trophies so you can get out of the helicopter. And he was like, pass, and then it blew up, and it was supposed to be a joke, but then it really did happen. Crazy world.
So John Chaney died yesterday morning, Old Temple's basketball coach. He won over 400 games in his career. Rest in peace, John Chaney led the Temple. I think they're the Temple Terrapins. I can't remember their mascot. It's a turtle. I know that for a fact. It's a turtle.
Terps?
Yeah, probably the Terps. And rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. I know we're taking up time on this. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. Gianna Bryant and the 2 other girls that died on the plane crash with them were honorary draft picks.
Wait, 200?
No, not 200. The 2 other girls that died on the plane with her. They are honorary draft picks in the WNBA draft.
Oh, sweet.
So rest in peace. It's Gianna Bryant. Rest in peace, everybody who was on that crash. Anyway, we got to move on to the NBA here. Let's get the rundown in real quick. Joel Embiid, man, is he playing like he should be? Are the 76ers finally figuring it out? And then we're going to talk about the NBA All-Star. There's no game this year, so should the fans and should the players care about the All-Star voting? And then Lonzo Ball is being included in trade rumors. Where is he going to go? Is he going to stay in New Orleans? And then in the NFL, we got to talk about the conference title games. We got to talk about the Super Bowl matchup. Did a team finally make history in that they're going to play in the same stadium as they're hosting the Super Bowl? And then Deshaun Watson on the trade rumors. What's going on with him? We'll talk about that. Other sports. We'll give you an update on the NHL. Apologies. Conor McGregor. Did he lose or did he win? We'll talk about that. And now in the MLB, a certain player got traded this morning, and I'll tell you how much he's making per game because his contract is so fat. He's making a whole lot of money on a game check. And then in Dixie Sports, we got to talk about last night's Dixie State basketball game. We got to talk about Dixie State swimming and tennis. And then I got the rant later in the show. I'll give it away just a little bit. It's one of my favorite sports. That's all I'm going to give you guys. But it's one of my favorite sports of all time. Period. End of story. Let's get to this NBA button. Let's talk about some NBA.
Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer! It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win it! They win it! 3 and 2. to LeBron to win the game. He does! He does! The ball comes in. Kobe's got it. Above the three-point line, taking a little bit of time. One dribble, pull up. For the win, he got it! The Lakers win! McKee gets it in the middle for the win. It's with two. Wade puts it up for the win. Yeah, baby!
Oh my, we are witnessing one of the great players to ever play in this league. And man, I hope it lasts for another 7, 8, 9 years, baby.
7, 8, 9, 10, 15, and like LeBron, he'll probably play, 23, 24 years? He'll probably play until he's about 40, 41.
If he's at 18 right now, I'm saying about 22 seasons.
22? I think about 24. What is he, 35?
36.
36, so probably...
Time will tell.
Time will tell. I mean, obviously he wants to play with his son, but we don't know how good his son's going to be right out of high school or whether he's going to be good enough to go to the NBA. But nonetheless, LeBron James Jr., Bronny, as he likes to call him, is on the ropes and is on the rise of being an NBA All-Star. So let's get to the NBA here. We got to talk about Joel Embiid to start with. The 7-foot big man who plays for the 76ers has had himself a good back-to-back games, had 28 points against the Los Angeles Lakers, and then last night had 37 points in the win over the Timberwolves. Jacob, we have kind of talked about Joel Embiid on the program. We've talked about whether he's actually a good player, whether he was part of the James Harden trade rumors earlier in the summer during the offseason, whether him and Ben Simmons and Doc Rivers can actually work together in a full entire season. But what has Joel Embiid done so far in this early part of the season and near the mid part of the NBA season to not only be added as one of the big men's, but possibly in the MVP conversation?
So we have talked about Joel Embiid, and I have had some few takes. Like I've said the cheeseburger stuff, and I've said a lot of things about the massages before the games. But I feel like Joel's mentality, and you can kind of just see it, he's kind of more focused on the game now. He's at that point in his career where he's like, all right, I have the fame, I have the popularity, I've got the followers. Now it's time to just flat out win. Me and my good friend Grant, it was about, I think it was right at the start of the NBA season. We're like, all right, let's try to compile our top 20 players each. And so he made a list, I made a list. And I had Embiid actually down even as low as about like 18, 19.
Wow.
Really? Yes, after last season. Because I was like, there's too many guards and forwards I feel like are just more effective, have more impact on their team, can take their team deeper into the playoffs. But this season, I think Joel Embiid is proving me wrong. You can say it. He's proven me wrong. So to your question, yes, he's playing exactly like he should. Get this stat. A few of these stats blew me away. As a big man, as a 7-foot big man, he's shooting 84% on 11 attempts from the free throw line.
Wow.
That's like James Harden numbers right there from a big man.
We talked about it last night, actually, on the Dixie State program when we were calling the game last night. We were talking about how it's hard for a big man, including me. We were talking about how I had like an experience with it. It is really hard as a big man to shoot the free throws because you're not consistently practicing it.
They had that guy, Gorjak Gok, who's shooting 70% from three. Looks like, I mean, not three, for the free throw line, but he looks like Bol.
It was ridiculous.
But some other great stats for you. On top of the 28, 11, and 3 he's averaging, 54% from the field and 40% from 3. That's amazing.
He can shoot that 3 once in a while.
His basketball reference page is unbelievable for this season.
It reads like a James Harden stat line.
But dude, no. It's like Shaq, but efficient everywhere. It's like a Shaq, but efficient and can shoot threes. He's shooting, last year from 3. He was 33% on 3.4 attempts per game. People had said Joel can stretch the floor, and I'm like, well, his efficiency doesn't really show it. I'm confused why people will say he can shoot the 3. This year, on 2.9 attempts per game, 0.404. That's the number from 3. That's incredible. I don't know how long that will hold up, but I think Joel is going to be in that upper echelon of 3-point shooters for big men. I think he'll be above 37% on the season, it's looking like. But Embiid has totally silenced the whole Embiid or Simmons conversation. I mean, Simmons has been in a down year, it looks like. Embiid's having a career year. It's no question about that. I still have some playoff doubts with this team. I'm not sure if they can push past the Eastern Conference Finals. But that's more about the team and not as much about Joel. Joel is doing great for right now. He's top 3 without a doubt in the MVP.
So to touch on just the 76ers for a moment, you remember the 2010s, obviously, but I'm getting vibes. I'm just getting small vibes. It's just like it's creeping up. I'm getting small vibes of this Philadelphia 76ers team with Doc Rivers, like the Los Angeles Clippers teams of the 2010s. I'm getting that little DeAndre, like the guy that's supposed to be the superstar that stands out is the face of your franchise is Joel Embiid. That was Blake Griffin in the Clippers, time. Then there's Tobias Harris. He's the quieter superstar. He's not going to be that totally flashy, but he's going to have moments of brilliance. That's DeAndre Jordan. And then you got Ben Simmons playing the Chris Paul role at the top of the point guard, running the offense. Now, I'm not saying Ben Simmons is Chris Paul. I'm not saying that at all in the same reference, but I'm saying there seems to be a little bit like a vibe of those old 2010 Clippers teams that just could not figure it out in the playoffs. But we're so good that we're so good in the regular season. That we're so flashy. That we're so efficient. That we're just would show up and play hard. You know what I mean? Kind of like that. And
I'm seeing your comparison more and more now.
And that's what I feel like the 76ers should be. It shouldn't be a high flying warrior style team where you're trying to find those flashy shots. It should be a tough, gritty, grinded out, toughness, Eastern Conference style basketball. You're from Philly, man. You're not from the Golden State of California. You're from Philly. Play like you're in Philly. But over to Embiid. Embiid is incredibly impressing me every single week, and I will say it, and I know you didn't actually say it, but I'll say it. I'm apologizing to Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I think we both have a little bit of apology to say.
It's not just from us. It's from everybody in the media. The disrespect we gave to Joel Embiid was just because there would be one night where he'd get 27, then the next night it'd be 9, then the next night it'd be 32, and then the next night it'd be 4. Then he would sit out 3 games because of a back injury, and then he would sit out another game because his stomach has issues, and then he would come out and have back-to-back games of 40 points and would look like, the second coming of Shaq. And we're like, where's the consistency? Where is the every day you're playing hard? And he's doing that, dude. He is doing that against tough competition too. The game he had against Philly, Marc Gasol not against Philly, but against the Lakers, Marc Gasol got in foul trouble, and Montrezl Harrell, give credit to Montrezl Harrell, he's a tough player. He's just not big enough to hold up Joel Embiid. He's not tall enough for that spot. And a certain player on Philly that would have probably handled Joel Embiid last night, but didn't, is Dwight Howard. But he's wearing a 76ers jersey, not a Lakers jersey. So there's that one player that you could have used against him, but you don't have him on the team. And because of that, Joel Embiid ran wild on Montrezl Harrell. So Embiid is impressing me. Embiid is impressing me every single day. But the question will always be, can he hold up? Before the Lakers game, he missed a game before that because of a back injury. He had back injuries in Kansas. That's what stopped him from being the first overall draft pick. That's what stopped him from playing the first 2 years of him being a rookie. But then he came back 3 years later because he's considered a rookie by NBA standards. I don't know. Point is, wrap it all up, Embiid is impressing me a lot.
We agree overall on Joel. We need to revisit this topic maybe in the playoffs or next year. We need to see more from Joel in the playoffs.
We do. All right, let's move on to the NBA All-Starting voting here. There is no All-Star game this year. Sadly, I wish there was an All-Star game, but nonetheless, Jacob, should the players care about an All-Star voting, and should the fans care about an All-Star voting?
I'll make this short and sweet. Yes. I'm not quite sure how they do it, but I'm pretty sure this is the pie chart. 50% media, 25% players, 25% fans. I think that's how it is, and I think that's how it should stick. I think all-star voting matters. It kind of annoys me when you see a sympathy all-star vote just because it boosts their legacy, and then you leave out someone like Bradley Beal averaging 30. That was horrible last year. That was so bad. He's going to get in this year averaging 35. which is nuts. But All-Star voting matters because of contracts. We see it in the contract deals. I know De'Aaron Fox has an exception where if he makes an All-NBA team, he can make a lot more money than he would if he didn't. I think judging on how many he makes can boost his contract each year. So there's exceptions when we see these teams and these star players sign them. And then also, I'm a fan of legacies, and Hall of Fame ballots matter. All-star voting, you could argue all-star appearances are the number one thing you need to get into the Hall of Fame.
Also, I was about to say just all-star voting and rings. Those are probably the number one thing we all look at.
And then stats, how much points you have. Exactly. And so if you can have those, the difference between like 7 all-star appearances and 5 all-star appearances can be the difference if you make the Hall of Fame or not. So I think they really matter, even if they're not going to play an actual game. They're talking about trying to have a game potentially. Maybe they'll do... I would like to see them have some sort of other thing. Have them all get together and play horse. Have them all get together and do something. Do something other than just play a pickup game of basketball. But anyways, I think all-star voting should matter, and I'm just going to keep it short and sweet with that.
I know you'll probably like shake your head at this, but what if we got all the all-star votings, right? All the all-stars, and we put them on separate teams of 5, and they all play 2K to see who's really good at 2K.
They could do that, or they could do what LeBron and KD did and play the flag football pickup game. Oh,
we could do that. LeBron James would run over everybody because he's a locomotive. KD would play safety, and he would pick out a couple people. I would probably guess that.
KD would be unstoppable at wide receiver.
Right? He would be
in flag football. Yeah.
If he wasn't 6'11", if he would have just been like 6'6", like Megatron right there, just skinnier version of that. But nonetheless, you mentioned the contracts. I was going to mention that as well. Incentives, like players get, an extra $20,000, an extra $100,000. You get an extra $1 million. Like Damian Lillard, mentioned it, I think a couple years ago. He's like, he was pissed that he got left out on an All-NBA team because it cost him near $300,000 on a contract.
If not more than that.
He's like, dude, you cost me a paycheck. What the hell? So I totally get that. I think it matters. I think it also matters to the fan bases because let's admit one thing. The All-Star game itself has turned into basically a high-flying dunk contest. Who can put up the best dunk contest? Yeah. Who can put up the best three-point shot? And there's something wrong with that. Right? It's fun to watch Steph Curry just shoot 23 threes in an all-star game and see if he can make all 23 of them.
He doesn't really shoot that much. I mean, the bench comes in. Some players only play 2 minutes because they're not interested. But I think last year's all-star game was actually pretty cool because they went to a scoring thing. And you could be mad at the end how they won. AD hit a free throw and they won it. But let's be real. You had, for about 3 minutes there at the end of the game, you had 20 of the best NBA players all legitimately trying in a basketball game. And for a stretch, it was the best game you'd seen all year. And then unfortunately it ended kind of awkwardly. But nevertheless, I think it kind of had a bounce back. But overall, we know what the story of the All-Star game is.
Right, we know the All-Star, and hopefully, you know what, like you said, hopefully we have something that comes out of this. I hope there's a game. I hope there's some type of pickup game. I don't know if they have to do it in a bubble situation where they shut down the season for a week and get everybody together and make sure everybody's safe. I don't know how it's going to get done, but All-Star voting matters because players get more money, and fans, they like voting in their favorite players. Obviously, my bone to pick with the NBA and the NFL and the MLB is I get it. We all want to vote in the best players of every team, but can we make one rule and one exception of whatever host city has to host the games? Can we get at least one player from the host city's team? Just one.
What if it's in Charlotte?
If it's in Charlotte, put in
Sacramento.
There you go. But I get your point. But in Sacramento, it would be either Fox or Bagley. If it's in Charlotte, it would either be Ball or Bridges.
I'd say do that, but for the dunk contest.
I don't know for the dunk contest, but I'm just an all-star game. Your host city is hosting it. Why not get one player from your team so that the host city fans can come and be like, hey, one of our players made the team. Let's go watch the game. It'd be kind of boring to go to New Orleans. like when AD was there and Anthony Davis didn't make the team. You want to watch your team, the Pelicans, play in the All-Star game.
No one was thinking about, Anthony Davis isn't playing in the game and he's here.
That's just me. Anyway, let's move on to the last topic here. Lonzo Ball. And, man, his name has always been around in the NBA, obviously from LeVar Ball, talking about how he's better than Steph Curry, how he's better than Michael Jordan, how he's better than Magic Johnson, how you could put Lonzo Ball on the Golden State Warriors and replace him with Steph Curry, and Lonzo would lead that team to a championship, to LiAngelo Ball not getting drafted and getting busted in China, to his brother LaMelo Ball now balling out in Charlotte. We might have to talk about how we owe LaMelo Ball an apology about how we called him a bust, or I do, in more retrospect to that. But Lonzo Ball has been considered to be traded along with J.J. Redick from the New Orleans Pelicans. And to make matters worse, he put on a good game last night, 27 points in the win. Does Lonzo Ball, Jacob, deserve to be traded again? And the part two on that, is it Lonzo or is it the Pelicans?
We saw how good Lonzo was in college and in high school. And so it doesn't make sense in my brain how he's kind of flopped in his NBA career. Last night was what we've wanted to see from Lonzo this whole time. We were announcing the game, and you turn around and you are saying off the scores of the Pelicans, and it's BI with 28. You say Lonzo with 27 and Zion with 21. I'm like, Lonzo with 27, huh? That's nuts. Of course, once the trade rumors start peaking up, he starts playing like that. Maybe it's going to want them to trade him more. Maybe it's going to want them to keep him. Regardless, when looking at his stats, it's going to be hard for the Pelicans to keep him, man, especially if he's going to want a good contract. He's 40% from the field, and that's just been the story for his whole career. He hasn't really shifted from that percentage. He shoots 33% from three. The key is that he shot 37.5% from three last year. Now, that was supposed to be an improvement. Now he's regressed a little bit back, making that season look a little bit like an anomaly. And he's 58% from the free throw line for a point guard, which is god-awful, Martin. That is terrible. He has not improved in that in years. The rebounds are down from 6 to 3.6. The assists are down from 7 to 5. And the minutes are basically about the same. Career low in steals, which he was supposed to be good at coming into the league. This is disappointing from someone who had so much hype. And it's not like I'm a Lonzo Ball fan, but when you see someone get hyped up so much before their career and then they don't turn out how they were hyped up to be, it's like, crap. Like, I wanted to see that guy going forward. But anyway, I think he will end up getting traded. If he gives it, like, I've saw a few trade packages, like one of the Clippers. Like, he's just going to disappoint the Clippers, let's be real. If he's going to get traded, it's going to be to another lottery team.
So that's the thought I have as well. You mentioned all the stats. You can actually just say the one good thing about his stats is he's averaging more than his career number in points. It's just barely above 10.5. He's averaging just
10.5.
He's averaging just more than 13 points a game this season. So he's got the upside that he's scoring more points. I don't know if that's good or bad, or that might just be from last night, considering he had 27 points.
Probably.
I think the thing with trading him is what you brought up, is what can he add? Let's say a championship team does trade for him. Let's say the Celtics or the 76ers or the Nets or the Clippers or the Nuggets or, the Mavericks. Teams that are expected to play for a championship, right? Teams that are supposed to go far into the playoffs. What can he add? Can he add depth? Can he add defense? Can he add some offense? Can he be a distraction on the court to allow other players to flourish? Can he be that player that maybe it's just a situation and he goes to a better situation and he actually flourishes into the player we've expected him to be? Like, you and I were talking about that draft class yesterday. I can't think of a worse 1-2 right now in NBA draft history than Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball right now.
Oh my gosh.
And there are some
sucks that you had to say that.
But think about it, like, and there's some dudes. He's like Bargnani going number 1 overall. Like, Olowell Candy going number 1 overall, or Jay Williams going number 2 overall to the Bulls.
To be fair, Jay Williams got in a motorcycle accident, but yeah,
I know. But the point is, you know what I mean. There's you would have to pretty much dig deep into NBA history to find a worse 1-2 pairing in the first 2 picks of an NBA draft class, and considering that same draft class was Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, and Jason Tatum in that draft class as well.
Ooh.
And obviously Mitchell and Adebayo were later in the draft. Tatum got traded from possibly going number 1 overall to going to number 3 overall by the Boston Celtics.
Finesse.
But back to Lonzo, I don't know, man. I think he's reached his ceiling. I think this is the player who he is. I don't think he's going to average 20 points a game. I don't think he's going to average near 10 assists a game. I don't think he's going to average more than 5 rebounds a game. I just don't think he can elevate himself beyond that. So if he's that type of player, if he's a decent role player on your team for in case you get an injury or you need him to play some depth minutes in the playoffs for a couple minutes to give your starters a rest, what team's going to trade for him to play that role?
Part of me wants to think that Lonzo should work out on the Pelicans and the Pelicans are doing something wrong. But if you have Zion and Zoe, that should be a lethal pick and roll combination. I think they don't run it enough, but coming from a fan's perspective, I want to trust the Pelicans that they're doing everything that they can to put the players in the right position. And if it's not working out, it's just not working out.
That's the situation there. And it's kind of frustrating because Brandon Ingram has flourished a little bit. I don't know Brandon Ingram's flourished into a legitimate superstar, but he's come along a little bit.
Yeah, he's in that 25 to 30 range probably. 20 to 25.
And
yeah.
Obviously we know what Zion is. Zion has come right out of the box as he was advertised, and it's just proven us all wrong about, he's overweight, can he stay healthy? He's probably taking those the same thing with Embiid. He's taking those criticisms and said, no, I can play. I
think Zion has a few things he needs to work on, but another topic for another day.
Another topic for another day. That is the NBA here. Let's move on to the NFL. Let's cover these conference title games. Let's cover on what's going on with Deshaun Watson, all that on the NFL.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
Sanders still on his feet. Sanders is gone. Barr with daylight and time goes for the whole thing. Touchdown! Green Bay leads. Brett Favre.
Rice, he's open. No flags are down. Touchdown.
And here's a sack. Lawrence Taylor comes over the top.
Leon left. No.
DeLow fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flags down. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
He did what?
Tired of that call. Can you?
No.
We were talking about that on the podcast one time. You said you were on a double date.
Yes. I actually saw my friend last night.
You saw the same dude?
Yeah, his name's Logan. So, yeah, we talked about how crazy it was, how wherever we were out to eat, he was refreshing the feed on that Arizona Bills game, and we were like, oh, crap, Arizona lost, because he's a Cardinals fan. And then a second later, it refreshes and they had won, and we're like, what happened? We saw on Instagram a few moments later the highlight, and it was nuts.
You know what? It was nuts. I told you I was at home watching it on a stream, and I saw the last play, and I was like, wait, what just happened? Wait, did Kyler Murray just do that with DeAndre Hopkins? Because the Bills just went down, and Stephon Diggs scored a touchdown to take the lead over the Cardinals, and then wait, what? It was in my mind to that. Let's talk about the conference title games. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills to move on to the Super Bowl. They beat them 38-24. Then the Green Bay Packers shot themselves in the foot and lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady now breaks a record. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots alone have appeared. The Patriots have appeared in 11 Super Bowls. Tom Brady has appeared in 10 Super Bowls in his entire career. That's more than 20 teams combined in the NFL. We are not done with Tom Brady. He is not done with us any bit. But, Jacob, I'm going to give you the floor here for a couple minutes. Tell me why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be playing in Super Bowl 55.
They are both playing in Super Bowl 55 because they won their games. Let me dive into these games and what happened. First, Chiefs and Bills. This one was the less exciting of the two, but nevertheless, it was a good game. 38-24 was the final score. The Chiefs took care of business like I predicted. I predicted the Chiefs before the playoffs to make it to the Super Bowl, and they did. But anyway, Martin, I know you picked the Bills. I can see why you picked the Bills, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs were the superior team. They played up to the competition this time. Throughout the season, and even last season, we saw the Chiefs play down to their competition. Allen can't be the team's rushing leader when it comes to playoff games. He had 88 rushing yards on the ground. The Bills had a total of 129. That means about 30 yards combined from about 3 running backs on the Bills. That's not acceptable. I know your offense is made for Josh Allen in the pass game, but if you want to go deeper into the playoffs next year, you need to retool from the running back category this offseason. But Bills fans should be proud overall of their season. As for the Chiefs and Mahomes, Mahomes has had the best 3-year start as far as starting. The best 3 years starting out of any player in NFL history. 2 Super Bowl appearances, could have been 3 because of that coin toss. He lost, so he's got 3 AFC championship appearances in 3 years of starting. He's got an MVP, and he'll have a runner-up MVP as well. That's the best start, like I've said, out of any NFL player ever. I think that's no dispute there. But the Chiefs had 114 yards on the ground. For the Chiefs, that is huge. If they can have plus 100 on the ground, added to their 300, 400 yards of pass game, they get a game. They're almost impossible to beat, man. Has Mahomes actually ever lost a game throwing for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks like he did?
I don't think so. I thought you were about to tell me. Like, I do not know.
I think it's a no. I think there's no way he has lost.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
As for that game overall, I expected the Chiefs to win. They did so. It wasn't that close in the game. As for the Bucs Packers, this one was the exciting one. I picked the Packers to win the NFC before the playoffs started. But before our podcast, I switched to the Bucs, and I was correct on that hunch. I knew it was right to switch to Tom. The magic is there. Can you feel the magic, Martin? Do you feel it?
I hate it. I can feel it, but I don't like it.
I understand why you don't like it. I've come to respect Tom Brady. I used to hate him. Not that I'm a fan of him, but it's good for the NFL to see him in this spot. The 3 picks definitely concerns me, though, when it comes to the Chiefs. It looked like he was going to throw away the game for sure. Fournette was nice with 55 yards and a touchdown. That was enough on the ground for the Bucs in that game. They're going to need a little bit more in the Super Bowl if they want to win. And they also did it without AB. Keep in mind, AB is a solid piece on this team. He's their number 3 wide receiver. But overall, the story of the game, we know what happened if you saw it. Matt LaFleur, as Stephen A says, he took the coward's way out. Let's be real. He had a chance to go for it. They're about on the 5-yard line. And
28-20.
And it was 2 minutes left in the game. You had the chance to tie the game, and you didn't do it. And that was your best chance to do it. I mean, let's be real. The field goal shortened the margin a little bit. But even after that, you would have had to score a touchdown. 2 field goals wouldn't have shortened the gap. And that was your best shot. I mean, imagine this. You're a coach, and I tell you, you get one play. You get one play deep in the playoffs to decide if you go to the Super Bowl or not. And you're on your own 5-yard line, and you have perhaps the best quarterback in the league for one play. How do you feel about that scenario?
I feel pretty good.
You would feel amazing, right?
Feel pretty good.
You would feel amazing. You would feel like that's a great season, and you have some good chances. Yeah. Nah, Matt LaFleur elected to trust in his defense that had given up 31 points already in that ball game, and they never got the ball back. That's something that you cannot live with. I cannot live with saying, oh, I didn't even get the chance to win the game. That is unbelievable to me.
All right, so there's a lot to dive into. The second game, obviously, with the Packers and the Bucs. With the Chiefs and Buffalo first, it just felt like the Bills were never ready. It felt like no matter what they did in that game, they were never going to be at the same level as the Chiefs. I don't think they were ever going to get back into that game. They were down 21-9 at one point in the first half. The Chiefs were so much more ready. It was in their own building. The Bills were on the road. And think about it. The Bills won their 2 first playoff games this season at home against the Colts and against the Ravens, where they had the advantage and they could use that weather to their element. So I totally understand that. And like I said, just defensively, the Bills were never there. Defensively, they were never there. They weren't ready for the game. They came out short. They came out flat. The Chiefs took advantage of that. The Chiefs ran wild with it. They won that game respectably. It's just, it also felt like we had all these questions about the Chiefs earlier in the regular season. What are the Chiefs doing? Are they actually trying? Are they playing down to the competition? Are the Chiefs going to make it to the Super Bowl? Are they good enough to make it to the Super Bowl? What's going on with Patrick Mahomes? He turns it on, he turns it off, he turns it on, he turns it off. He's not efficient. To me, it's like LeBron James in the regular season. LeBron James goes at about 50% in the regular season. He's going to put on some tough nights where he's got to play a lot, but there's more nights where he just, he's at about 50%, and 50% is good enough to get 25 points. That's just how good of a player he is. That to me is what the Chiefs felt like. A team that was just like, listen, we're going to cruise through the regular season. We're not going to worry about this. But as soon as the playoffs start, and it was like a switch from the playoffs, they were boom, 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 boom. There was no mistakes on offense. Yes, they had the close game against the Browns, but that was only because Mahomes got hurt, and there was a moment where the Browns came back in the game. But you know what? Look what they did in that game as well. They were able to win without Patrick Mahomes. And that was the more impressive part about that game as well. Again, against the Bills, they just did it. But the Bills will be back. The Bills are good enough. They got to fix the defensive side of the ball a little bit. They got to fix the running game a little bit. They will find those problems. They will fix those problems in a matter of days, and they will be better. And the Bills and the Chiefs, I feel like, are going to meet in this conference title game maybe more than twice in the next few years. I feel like this is going to be a rivalry we're going to be seeing in the conference title game for a few years to come.
Before you get right into the next game, Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback. I think it's safe to say he's better than Lamar. He's better than guys like Kyler Murray.
He's better. Think about it. He is better than all the quarterbacks that were drafted in the same draft class with him.
He's the best dual-threat quarterback in the NFL.
Think about it. In the same draft class as Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson, he's the only one to reach a conference title game. He's the only one from the conference. You can't even be like, oh, you can't even be like, oh, good organization. It's the freaking Bills. The Bills aren't supposed to be doing this. This is crazy. Anyway,
right, go ahead.
To the Packers and to the Bucs. There are 2 things here. One, the Packers shot themselves in the foot and lost this game. And it starts with one man, and it's not Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur does deserve some, pain and some consideration and some, what were you doing? But let me turn my head over to another man. Another man that cost the Packers a game. His name is Kevin King. Good old Mr. Kevin King. Not only burnt once, burnt twice, burnt 3 times in a game where Tom Brady took him apart. Did you watch the game by any chance, the Packers and the Bucs game?
I watched a decent amount of it.
So did you watch before the halftime when the Buccaneers scored?
Yep.
Guess who was covering that play? Kevin King with the little swim move, trying to get in front of Scotty Miller as he knocks down that one. The first touchdown that Tom Brady threw in the game, it was against Kevin King. That's 2 touchdowns, and the dude that got called for the holding late in the game that gave the Buccaneers the first down to ice the game was Kevin King committing the holding foul. And fans can be like, that's a hold? How can you call that as a hold? The refs are trying to make... No, listen. Kevin King got burnt 3 times in a game where Tom Brady knew it, and Tom Brady took advantage of that.
He knew going into the game exactly what was going to happen.
He was like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Aha! Found you. I'm going to burn you today, buddy. And he did it. And you know what? To the Packers, I told you this off air. They had 2 trips down in the red zone and a chance to score 2 touchdowns, and the 2 touchdowns would have added to them winning this game. And they kicked 2 field goals. Instead of 14, you get 6, and you left 8 points on the board. They lost by 5. You get them 8 points, you win by 3. And the Packers, as your phone falls, the Packers shot themselves in the foot. Like, I get it. Matt LaFleur wants to be a little gutsy, wants to maybe kick a field goal and play the advantage game of maybe Tom Brady's going to turn the ball over. Like, we just had 3 consecutive interceptions from Tom Brady near the red zone. Like, we stopped them from scoring. We got them on the ropes. We just need a little bit more time. Like, okay, let's kick the field goal. We're down by 8. We score a touchdown. We get the 2-point conversion. We're going to win by 1. Or we can tie this game. Like, there's an advantage here. Like, we could probably send this to overtime and take advantage of it. But 2 empty red zone trips, 6 points instead of 14, 8 points, and you lost the game by 6. I lost the game by 5. You cost yourselves in that run. I get it. The fans want to blame the refs. The fans want to blame Kevin King. But the Packers shot themselves in the foot.
Yet another NFC team going home heartbroken with some controversy in the playoffs. But this is going to be one of the best Super Bowl matchups I can remember in my lifetime as far as just the matchup goes. We'll dive into that next week. We'll give our predictions on that next week. Stay tuned. Stick around. Keep coming back to our podcast, and we will tell you about it next week, who we think. I don't even know who I'm going to pick for next week. It is that close.
The only thing I will say on this, the last time we had a back-to-back champion in the Super Bowl history,
yep,
has been with the New England Patriots, which was with Tom Brady. 2003, 2004 was the last time we had back-to-back Super Bowl champions. The last time there was a threat for that was the 2013-2014 Seattle Seahawks. They beat the Peyton Manning Broncos, and then they got intercepted by Malcolm Butler on the 1-yard line, and that gave Tom Brady his 4th ring. This is the second time we possibly can get back-to-back champions, and guess who's right there to stop all of that and say, no, I'm the only one that's going to own that back-to-back. Yet again, Tom Brady is in a Super Bowl where he can stop a team from winning back-to-back Super Bowls. I don't know what it is about the evil monster in Tom Brady, but he knows how to stop people from having fun in the NFL. He just knows how to stop those back-to-backs. All right, moving on. I'm sorry, I know we have to go. Deshaun Watson. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson here. He is being rumored in trades. He has demanded a trade out of Houston. Says, no more Texans. Trade me. I don't care if you hire Dave Culley, an assistant head coach and wide receiver coach from the Baltimore Ravens, from a team as a wide receiver coach, had the worst wide receiver core in the NFL. And they hired Nick Cassero, who came from the New England Patriots, as the new general manager. But nonetheless, Deshaun Watson told the McNair family, either you get me out of here or I don't play at all. So, Jacob, what's going on? And where does Deshaun Watson go?
First of all, imagine being a Houston sports fan right now. You lost James Harden, and you're going to lose Deshaun Watson for completely different reasons, actually. Deshaun sort of has to leave because it's the worst franchise in the NFL. Even J.J. Watt needs to leave. It's the worst run organization in the NFL, in my opinion. You could make an argument there with the Jets, as I saw your reaction.
I was going to say the Jets or the Bengals.
And at least the Bengals look like they're going somewhere. Anyway, this is terrible. If you're a Houston fan, looking at these trade packages, I decided to pull up some trade packages. There's 5 via SBNation.com. I'm going to read off some of their packages. They got the Dolphins, the Jets, the Patriots, the Falcons, and then my Carolina Panthers. Looking at the packages first, the Dolphins, they're offering Tua, their third overall pick, a 2021 first round pick, and a 2021 second round pick. I think that's worth it. Then they got a New York Jets 2021 first round pick. That's the second overall pick. Their 2021 second round pick, their 2022 first round pick, and a 2023 first round pick. So they're giving up future for him. The Patriots are in this equation as well with Bill Belichick. They gave up their 15th overall pick this year, their 2021 second round pick, their 2022 first round pick, another second round pick in 2022, and a 2023 first round pick. As you can see, teams are just giving up a bunch of picks. I don't need to go too deep into this. The Falcons, they have their thing up there, but the Panthers, that's what I really want to dive into because that's my team. I need the Carolina Panthers to trade for Deshaun Watson. This is crucial. We're not going to get a quarterback as good as him in the draft. It's do or die. I see this all the time in the NFL. One of my huge complaints, if I was a GM, I would trade for a ton of stars. I'd give up all my draft picks because you can trade for stars super easily in the NFL with picks. But nevertheless, this is a huge package. Teddy Bridgewater, their first round pick, that's the 8th pick this year. Their second round pick next year. Their first round pick after that. The second round pick in that draft. And then the first round pick in 2023. Huge package. I think it's well worth it. You're not going to get a quarterback as good as him. The combination. I always wanted to see Cam and McCaffrey together. Both healthy and they're in their prime. But you know what could be even better? Deshaun Watson and Christian McCaffrey. Maybe Luke will come back from retirement. Who knows? The pieces could fall together. The pieces could fall together real quick. Last year, we won about 5 or 6 games without McCaffrey. Who knows what we could do with McCaffrey and Deshaun Watson. I mean, our receiving core is nice if you think about it. We got DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, and Robbie Anderson. Slim Reaper. So we got 3 good wide receivers. I think Deshaun, come home, Deshaun.
So I like the fact that you mentioned the Panthers because I was actually going to mention the Panthers as well because they're rumored in these trades. I don't know what you can get. I mean, you got Teddy Bridgewater. He's a decent quarterback. You can shop him. He's efficient in a right offense. He proved that. I mean, listen, yeah, the Panthers weren't good, but that has to do with the fact that they don't have a great offense line. They don't have a great tight end core. They have good receivers. They have good running backs, obviously with McCaffrey being injured, but Bridgewater can only do so much in, the offense that he did. And give credit, again, to Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers. They were a terrible team, but they balled out in every game. They tried their butts off in every game. They did not give up easily.
They sure did. I'm proud that we won, I forget what the exact number was, 5 or 6, because I know we were tanking.
But they balled out.
But they played hard without McCaffrey. I think if McCaffrey played the whole season, they could have won 8 games, maybe 9.
Possibly.
And so if you replace Bridgewater with Deshaun, I think that's a 10-win team. And then who knows? They're building up that defense. Guys are progressing. Who knows what that could be?
To me, when I look at Deshaun Watson, I'll compare to LeBron James again. It's like LeBron James that summer when he went to Miami. It's LeBron James first is going to be the domino that falls, and everybody else is going to come with it. Everybody else from Matt Stafford to Sam Darnold to Carson Wentz to Jared Goff, who's being reported as he's going to get traded, Jimmy Garoppolo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Deshaun Watson will be the first domino to fall before anybody else falls in the NFL. Where he could go? It depends on the team. You mentioned teams that have draft pick capability. He doesn't want, reports are he comes out, he doesn't want to be like Carmelo, which was when he got traded to the Knicks, Carmelo was really the only superstar in New York at the time. They had to rebuild the team up, obviously, after that.
They gave up so much to where there wasn't much left of New York.
Exactly. Deshaun Watson doesn't want to end up in that situation where he goes from one bad situation to another situation where he possibly could be on a good winning team, but they had to give up so much just to get this one man into their organization. So that probably eliminates teams like the 49ers, like the Bears, probably other teams that are up against the cap, or teams that just don't have the draft capital to say, okay, I can give you 5 or 6 picks for him. Give me Deshaun. I'll give you a future ahead of you. You can do something with these picks and get better players. You would legitimately have to give up player for player, and you would probably have to give up some of your better players to just get Deshaun Watson, which would be a problem. Back to Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt deserve better. The Houston Texans have been that team where, like, it seems like they should be good. Like, they should be a 10-win team. Like, they should be an 11-win team. Like, they should be competing for championships. Like, they should be in the playoffs. But they get into their way so many times. Like, oh, yeah, I have a great idea. Let's trade DeAndre Hopkins. Hey, I got another great idea. Let's trade away Russell Okung, Brown to the Seattle Seahawks, our best left tackle. Hey, let's trade Jadeveon Clowney, our best run defender and somewhat of a good pass rusher, so that I don't have to pay him. Like, what are you guys doing? You guys built this team up to be this good, and then you tear it all back down. And Deshaun's only mad about one thing, which is he wasn't included when they hired the GM or the head coach. He wanted Eric Bieniemy as the head coach. They said, no, we're not going to interview him. We want to interview some other guy. So he's like, all right, you want to disrespect me like that? It was
bad enough that they let Bill O'Brien stay there as long as he did, Bill O'Brien. And then on top of that, to pour salt in the wound, they didn't even ask Deshaun Watson who he wanted as a next coach.
It's crazy. I don't know. It is what it is. So I think it's to the point where Deshaun Watson needs a new situation. But here's one team that may be interesting. And my grandfather brought this up to me, and I've been thinking about this for a little bit. Let me put you in this situation here, Jacob. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, the number 1 overall draft pick, who is it going to be? We all know it's going to be the golden boy, Trevor Lawrence. We know Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 overall draft pick. Would you be the Jacksonville Jaguars, trade the number 1 overall draft pick for Deshaun Watson, and send Trevor Lawrence to Houston to possibly do average in Houston? Maybe they can build the team back up, including picks. Would you give up the number 1 overall draft pick if you're Jacksonville for Deshaun Watson?
I think it kind of depends on how good is the team around you. And looking at Jacksonville, I think they're best suited for a long term. And so I think Trevor Lawrence is the best bet for them.
All right. I like it. All right, that's the NFL with us. Let's get over to these other sports. We got to wrap up the show here. We got to keep this moving. We're like a train. We got to keep the locomotive moving.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. And the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores! There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes! With Canerco up. And he rips one in the left. Canerco, grand slam!
Canerco, grand slam.
We need something to say for this
I know. I got to work on it.
Sports button. We need a catchphrase to say at the beginning.
We got to work on that a little bit. I'll be working on that a little bit. I want to start off with the MLB here. Nolan Arenado got traded to the St. Louis Cardinals for a boatload of draft picks.
Ooh.
Looking for a boatload of prospects in the MLB. And the Colorado Rockies, who he played for, will eat up some of the money that they owe him. Do you know how much money the Colorado Rockies owe Nolan Arenado?
I would guess over $100 million.
$260 million. And already 1 year of that is due. And do you want to know how much of that is guaranteed?
200 mil.
260. Every
All
single penny.
Wow.
Is
was this
guaranteed.
pre-COVID contract?
This was, but MLB contracts and NBA contracts are fully guaranteed by law in their rules. Just the NFL is not around this one yet by saying fully guaranteed contracts. Only somehow a man named Kirk Cousins, who's an average quarterback, gets a fully guaranteed contract, but everybody else has got to fight for the money. Anyway, do you want to guess how much money he makes per game? Now that he's going to play for the St. Louis Cardinals, he's due $32.5 million for 6 months of baseball. Do you want to guess how much he'll make per game?
I'm going to say he's going to make per game over $40,000 per game.
He is owed nearly $250,000 per game. Owed $210,000 per game.
I thought there was a lot of games in baseball, though.
There's 162 games for a $32.5 million.
How many years is this 260 contract?
8 years. There's already 1 year done.
Oof.
This is a lot of money. He is due over $210 million, and even to make it even like more like outrageous for like baseball contracts, Mike Trout got the 12-year, $436 million. He's making nearly $300,000 a game on his contract. Over $430 million due on a contract.
I don't know why they signed those super long deals, but anyway.
A lot of money being passed on. Anyway, Nolan Arenado got traded to the St. Louis Cardinals for a boatload of prospects. They'll be making near $210,000 a game. Also, Steven Matz was traded from the New York Mets to the Toronto Blue Jays for 3 prospects. Matz is a good left-handed guy in the middle of your rotation. Good depth for the Blue Jays. They're going to stay contending because they want to compete for a World Series. But for the majority of this, MLB, I'll make this real quick. Jacob, have you ever heard of a Hall of Fame voting that does not actually vote in any Hall of Famers?
No. Other than what you explained to me today.
MLB is one of these teams, you have to get more than 77% of the vote from the Writers Association to get into the MLB. They didn't do it this year with guys such as Kurt Schilling, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, and Roger Clemens, some of the guys that were involved in the steroids era during the early 90s in baseball, just hitting dingers and winning Cy Youngs and doing all that crazy stuff. So another year, it's the first time since 2013 and the 9th time in MLB history that Hall of Famers will not be elected into the Hall of Fame. This year's Hall of Fame class is a goose egg of a 0.
SMH.
I know, it's so crazy. Anyway, moving on to the NHL here. Let's give you just the standings here. The Montreal Canadiens lead the North Division. The Columbus Blue Jackets lead the Central Division. The Vegas Golden Knights lead the Western Division. And the Washington Capitals lead the Eastern Division. I have another question for you, Jacob. Have you ever thought of like the most perfect like last second shot or like the most perfect like last second like caught for like a touchdown in a game of your dreams? Like you're like imagining the most perfect moment to score your first bucket or your first touchdown and how miraculous that would be, right? Mm-hmm. So, you ever heard of Alexis Lafreniere, the first overall draft pick by the New York Rangers? Have you ever heard of this man?
I've not heard of this man.
Alexis Lafreniere is a Quebec Canadian, French Canadian from the Quebec area in Canada, which is just above like New York, Vermont, all that area. He scored his first NHL goal in overtime over the Buffalo Sabres to give the New York Rangers a win. He didn't just score in a regular like season game where it's like a minute in the game, like it does not matter. He scored an overtime winner as his first NHL goal in history. This is the second time it's happened in New York Rangers history. It's been since Max Zuccarello in 2011 did this for his first NHL goal. To score an overtime winner as a first overall draft pick on your first game.
Is this his first game?
This is his first game with the team. First game, first goal in overtime to win the game.
Clutch.
This was on Thursday night.
That's legendary right there. Could be a start of something special.
He's only 19 years old. What were we doing at 19 years old that we're not doing that this kid is doing? Like what were we doing, right?
I was coming to college at 19. I was in my freshman year. Man.
Seriously, so hats off to Alexis Lafreniere scoring his first NHL goal. Over to UFC, Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier met in the UFC octagon, and you, me, and my buddy Michael Santascoy said all three of us said on the podcast, we picked McGregor, the Irishman.
That just proves our ignorance right there.
Dustin Poirier wins a second-round TKO over Conor McGregor. I watched this fight on a legal screen, so Dana White did not catch me watching a legal screen.
Okay, I was about to watch it on a legal stream, and then I got distracted, and I was like, oh, crap, the fight's over.
Oh, yeah, so... first round was pretty even. It was between both of the guys. They did pretty good. They got in little even shots at each other. But the second round, Poirier put a couple shots on Conor McGregor's leg. He couldn't bounce back. Knocked him on top of the noggin. Gave him a couple more hits. Knocked out Conor McGregor.
Gave him the TKO.
And you know what it felt like when I watched that TKO? You remember the Jose Aldo fight that Conor McGregor had where he punched him within 6 seconds of the fight actually starting? You remember that fight?
Before the fight?
Yeah. No. It was during the fight. Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor fought, and Aldo charged, and then Conor McGregor just put one good punch on him on the jaw and knocked him out from that straight on. That's what it felt like to me watching that fight last night. It was like, wow, I've seen this one before.
That was fast.
It was totally a good match. We'll expect the rubber match hopefully this summer or hopefully in the fall, but whenever that rubber match is going to come down, one for Conor, one for Dustin Poirier. Who's going to get the second win? We don't know, man, but Conor McGregor, man, damn. Anyway, finally, let's wrap this up with Dixie State Athletics. You and I were on the call last night, winning. Hopefully, we wish we were winning last night.
We wish we were winning.
85-74, 7-game lose streak is what the Dixie State men's basketball team is on, with Hunter Schofield scoring 23 points, Cameron Gooden and Frank Staines scoring 17 points themselves. Dixie State next game tonight against the Lancers of Cal Baptist. It was a pretty decent game. You and I thought Dixie was playing out of their minds in the first half. They couldn't.
Yes.
They could not replicate it in the second half. But nonetheless, a learning lesson for Dixie State is they'll try to bounce back tonight against Cal Baptist. Let's move it over to the swimming team here. I'm just keeping it moving here. The swimming team beat the Seattle U Red Hawks 187-71 in the swimming pool for the women's team. Kyrie Sutherland had 3 events that night. She won the 50-yard freestyle, 100-yard freestyle, 200 freestyle, and then the 200 freestyle, she set the 8th fastest finish in Dixie State history at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. You and I talked about this on the broadcast last night. I've watched a couple swimming meets. You've seen a couple of them practice. It's like you don't think they're going that fast, but they are going that fast.
Oh, dude, I'm not a great swimmer. I can swim, but I don't understand how they do it, man. They just glide like a fish.
It's like watching people play basketball. You and I just play basketball for casual, and then we're watching other dudes play how aggressive they do, and I'm like, wow, I can't match that. No, that's not me. That's not me. I just want to shoot. I just want to play horse. Let's just go play horse for 21, man. Let's just have some fun. That's just not me. But congratulations to the swimming team and what they'll be doing down the road. It is a good team to come down. Let's get this rant in. Let's wrap up the coin flip here on the podcast. Let's do it.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
The one, the only, the rant.
Oh, you're about to go blasphemous.
Fighting a scorpion, and that is final.
Will you two shut up?
Oh my God, I don't care.
You will when we're done talking about the rant here on the coin flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
The rant. And I am going to give a rant as basic as a typical one I do, which is about NASCAR. This time I'm not mad. This time I'm actually happy, Jacob. There's some things in this world that me and my dad did a lot when I was a kid. We would play basketball, we would play football, and he would teach me life things. But there was one thing my dad did to me all the time as a kid that I loved doing with him, which was waking up early in the morning, going to Bari Italian Subs in Chicago, Illinois on the west side, grabbing Italian subs, grabbing some waters, and driving to a racetrack to either Indianapolis, to Chicagoland. We went to Daytona one time. The Daytona 500. NASCAR is back February 14th. I'm excited about this season. We're going to see cars go over 200 miles an hour for 2 hours on the big Daytona 500 racetrack. Hopefully this year we don't see a crash like Ryan Newman last year where he nearly lost his life on the last second crash. It was really one of the scariest crashes I've seen in a long time in NASCAR. We also are going to get the greatest player in basketball history, the GOAT, Michael Jordan, starting up his own race team with the number 23 team, and Bubba Wallace starting up that team. We're going to see that team race all season long. February 14th will be the first race of the season. Defending series champion Chase Elliott will have a chance to race for another championship, possibly to win back-to-back championships in his history. His dad couldn't do it. His dad only won one championship in his entire racing career. So hopefully we get to see Chase Elliott pull something that his dad could not do. Bill Elliott was still one of the better drivers of all time. Austinville from Dawsonville. Anyway, it is going to be a fun season for NASCAR. It feels like the 90s where NASCAR took off, where it was in its biggest population. It feels like this is the year to turn that all around. The popularity is there. The fan bases are building up. Everybody's excited about NASCAR coming back. I cannot wait. I'm excited just for racing to get back, period. I can't wait to watch Formula One. I can't wait to watch IndyCar. Can't wait to watch NASCAR. Can't wait to spend my Saturdays and Sundays and record every race that I can, and then come home after hard days of work and spend nothing but 5 hours in front of my television just watching racing and scrolling through my phone. I can't wait until NASCAR's back, man. There's just something about cars going. I don't know what it is, Jacob. There's something about cars going around at a racetrack at 180 miles an hour, at 200 miles an hour, at 60 miles an hour. I've seen them go pretty slow. Even there's I want to go to a couple dirt tracks here in Utah. They have dirt track racing. I want to go to those races too. I want to see what dirt track racing looks like. NASCAR is just so much fun, man. I'll tell you what. You may not be a total fan of it, Jacob, but I promise you, if you went to a race, you would enjoy it, man. You would enjoy it. I promise you. One day, we're going to go to a race with a couple of our other friends. We'll hang out. We'll have a couple drinks. We'll have some food. And you're going to enjoy it, man. I'm telling you. You're going to enjoy it.
Yeehaw.
Anyway, that's the coin flip here. Episode number 21. Jacob, we didn't talk about this on our last podcast. And we didn't talk about it on the podcast before. But guess what? What did we start up that we now do with our podcast?
It's on YouTube. Hopefully that's where you're listening at.
Absolutely. Go to the Coin Flip Podcast. Look up the Coin Flip Podcast. You'll find our first episode up with Michael Santascoy last week. But this podcast will be up on that, and we'll have our second episode up on YouTube. We got about 10, 11 people to see the podcast already, which I'll take it as if we got 10 million people listening to our podcast. But the podcast is now on YouTube, man. There's no more excuses. We've been talking about this for over a year, trying to do this, and now we get to finally do it.
It's up. It's up. It's up.
And that is how we're going to end the Coin Flip episode number 21. Thank you so much for everybody for listening. I'm Martin. That's Jacob in the corner.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.